this video, we're gonna talk about stealing. The word stealing brings with it a negative connotation, but today we're gonna give it a positive spin. I'm gonna teach you why you should steal and how you can steal. But first, I've got a question for you. Who is the #1 drummer that's giving you inspiration right now? Put it in the comments section below and let's start a conversation about it. I'll start off with a statement. Every great artist steals. But for that to make sense to us, we have to rewind, redefine that word, and look at the way we interpret its meaning. Stealing in its simplest form is simply taking something that is not yours and making it yours. So if somebody steals my wallet, that ain't theirs, but it is now, because I ain't got it no more, and they got it. The big difference we need to see here is between stealing and copying. Copying is much more like plagiarism. For instance, if I take the classic piece of literature, The Old Man and the Sea, and I copy it word for word and put my name on it, and then I call it The Old Man Who Had Really Bad Luck, guess what that is? That's against the law. That's stealing in a negative light. Now let's look at it from a positive light. In music, what I call stealing and the way I view it is much more like getting inspiration from other players through the study of their playing. Every serious player has done this. There's a great book that discusses this little topic called How to Steal Like an Artist. It's a short read. You should check it out. So how do we go about stealing in a positive light so that it furthers the art of drumming and furthers us as players? The thing that really prompted me to make this video was somebody sent in a question and they said, how do I come up with my own voice without completely copying other players or sounding like them? It's a great question, and these 3 tips will help you do that. The first step is you need to study. You need to pick one drummer and you need to pick out 1 or 2 songs that they play on that you really like. Next comes the part that I love. I love to take a drummer's playing within a specific song and really isolate it and see the things that they do within that song that make that song tick. What you'll find is that if you do this several times, you'll come up with a small vocabulary that sounds like Elvin Jones or sounds like Steve Gadd or sounds like Chris Daddy Dave. While studying, find specific patterns, find specific fills that you really like, transcribe them and copy them note for note. Learn them note for note in the beginning. In this first stage of study, you'll also find that you begin to find their influences. So you'll hear something they do and they go, oh wow, that sounds like such and such drummer that came before them, and then you begin to learn more about the history of drumming than just studying that one player. The second thing you need to do is you need to dissect it. When you dissect something, you take a very small snippet, so maybe a 1-bar fill, and you take it apart. You look at each individual beat. You see the smaller stickings that they did within the larger framework. And then what I do is I take those and I begin to chunk those out, I piece those out. So I begin to put those around the drum set and use them in isolated manners. It's very similar to learning a sentence. You don't just want to learn that sentence, you want to learn all the words in that sentence so you can break that sentence apart and make a lot of sentences. And the third thing that you need to do is innovate. You need to take those patterns and make them your own. So you need to play them in different subdivisions. You need to play them in different voicings on the kit. You need to put them in different time signatures. What you're doing at that point is you're exploring that pattern and making it your own. So you're no longer copying, you're not plagiarizing this player, you're being inspired. You dissected what they did and then you took that and said, wow, I could run with the same thing and do a very similar thing, but put my own spin on it. This is stealing in a positive light. And this is what every great player in any field for centuries has done. I will tell anyone when they ask me exactly where an influence for a particular fill or a particular groove came from. Sometimes I don't know right off the bat, but whenever I break that apart, I can go, oh wow, I remember learning that from such and such whenever I was dissecting this player. And in the jazz and improv world, it's honestly a respected thing to do, to quote and pay homage to those that came before you, the building blocks that you're playing on. The problem I have is when a student comes in, they've directly ripped something from a recording and then they're calling it their own. That is stealing in a negative light. But if we steal in a positive light, where we study, we dissect, and then we innovate on top of that, that is just learning the history of drumming. I've been taking the students on my website through an in-depth study of Carlton Barrett. That was the drummer for Bob Marley. And you know how we did that study? We broke down individual grooves from 2 different albums and individual fills from those 2 different albums and saw specifically what made him tick as a player. And then I encouraged them, learn him how he played them, and then make them your own. Hopefully this will help you steel a little better in the future. If you're wanting to see daily progress in your drumming, follow the link below, take a tour of the members area, see what all the lessons on my website have to offer. Be sure and sign up for the email list. We've got a free webinar coming up, as well as tons of other free lessons and emails going on every week. Tune in here every Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday for new videos. Hang out with me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. But regardless of what you do, I'll see you here in the next video.